President General of Ohanese League, Chief Nia Modo, has warned that Nigerians might. The NSAS Judicial Panel of Inquiry set up by the government has found out that soldiers of the Nigerian army deployed by the military hierarchy to the Lekki tollgate on October 20 of 2020 shot, injured and killed unarmed, helpless and defenseless protesters without provocation or any justification while they were waving the Nigerian flag and singing the national anthem. The panel also found out that officers of the Nigeria Police Force who were deployed to the toll gate on that night of the incident shot at, assaulted and battered unarmed protesters, which led to injuries and deaths, thus aiding the Sanusi Ovada Bello, a lieutenant colonel. Well, joining us to break this down and discuss the development is Dele Farotimi. He is a political analyst. Thank you very much, Mr. Farotimi, for joining us.
Thank you very much for having me.
I'm sure that you and many more people who had been seen as the enemies, the villains, for want of better words, I'm sure you were called worse, for saying that this was a massacre, for staying on the side of the truth, you might have heaved a sigh of relief yesterday when that presentation took place.
Well, relief was not one of the many emotions that I felt. The thing about the truth is that it's immovable. It doesn't shift. It's the lie that is forever changing position. So you might hear people say one thing today and then review their position tomorrow because they necessarily have to keep adjusting their position to fit whatever the lie was that they told the day before. So Lai Mohammed will continue shifting his position. BRF will continue to edge on. Or what we did was essentially to more or less like, okay, that was that. Phase one is over. It doesn't end there, it's just beginning. There has to be accounting. Some people have to pay for what has happened. So for us, it wasn't a sigh of relief. It was merely confirmation of the fact that we are just an insane country, essentially.
A lot of people were not necessarily sure of what would be the outcome of this panel that is sitting in Lagos, or that sat in Lagos. Let's not forget that other governments set up panels, and we're yet to get those reports. The panel from Cross River State, we're yet to hear anything from them, Rivers and the likes. But Lagos State panel continued to sit. We kept hearing feedback and getting updates, but then every other panel went cold, or for want of a better word, silent. So I'm asking, for those who have now seen the reports of this panel and now that it's being presented, of course, the next thing on the minds of people is what will be done? Because we've heard what the governor said. He said that people will be compensated, justice will take its course. But again, what is your level of certainty that something will be done with this report?
Let me say this to you. When the panel was set up, the general feeling amongst my own constituency, those who believe that there is a problem with the way things are structured and currently being run in Nigeria, the general concern that could not really be covered up. We were convinced that, encouraged and worked with, the panel was going to arrive at the inescapable truth. There was way too much. I saw enough survivors, I spoke with enough survivors to have been convinced beyond reasonable doubt. Many patients, too many nurses attended to too many people. There was a live stream. There were too many survivors, despite the best effort and lies that the state might care to tell. It was simply impossible to hide the truth. It would have been in Nigeria keeping quiet for the evil they had planned to try. So it was possible for them to get away with it in other states where they were working to, more or less, the panels were set up not to find the truth, but to cover up the truth. But in Lagos, we have to salute the likes of Shino Ogunlana, the likes of even the Honorable Justice Doris Okuobi, Segalink, Awosanya, they did humans, the magical doing, even Blackano. We must salute their courage, but the truth of the matter is to be lying that nothing happened. Not people in government, even victims who were lying on behalf of government. So it's not the best hour of the Nigerian state or the Nigerian people. We should actually anoint our head with shame, with ash, and cry for shame. The king.
I want to quickly take some of the reactions of people that I saw today.
In broad daylight, people paid it.
I'm sorry, we're having connection issues. Mr. Farantimi, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Oh, okay, we lost you for a bit because we were having connection issues. Now, there have been a lot of reactions that we've seen from people who were directly involved, people like you who were told that they were lying, especially for the likes of the CNN and the likes of Fisayo Shoyombo, people who reported extensively on this issue. And I just quickly want to, look at some of their reactions. First person that I saw his reaction was Omoyele Sowore. He said, President Muhammadu Buhari, Jide Sanwo-Olu, that's the governor, he said the police, the army have done their worst against Nigerians, but it's time to be at our best for resistance. I read his tweet first because I'm trying to go somewhere with this. I think I had you and Inibere Fiong, and Inibere was so sure that nothing would be done to the soldiers that were involved in that particular, shootout. Early before we started this show, people were saying, but Nigerians didn't carry guns. If there was even a gun, if there was a shootout or somebody had responded with the gunshots, maybe that would have made it worse. But do you see anything happening in the Nigerian army to deal with the people who were sent out? But again, if those people are being dealt with.
We know who called the army. We also have the name of the lieutenant colonel who deployed and moved with the troop to that toll gate. If Nigerian courts would not hold them liable, the international criminal court.
We're gonna quickly take a short break and try to fix the internet connection with Farotimi, and then when we come back, we'll continue with this conversation. Stay with us.
Praise God, from whom all blessings flow. Welcome to your favorite program, The Moment of Truth, brought to you by the Citadel Global Community Church. Our God is a God of salvation, far above all principality and power and might and dominion, that regardless of what happens in this season, you will escape. Say to your neighbor, there is no peace for the wicked.
Guys, you're welcome to another edition of Plus Event, and I remain your host, Ifeoluwa Oshukeye. Your absence isn't an excuse anymore, as Plus Events is all you need, as we bring you the glitz, the glamour, and loads of fun.
Oh, definitely, by no question. He's a living legend.
Oh, God forbid, Holy Ghost fire, no.
I just want to be blown away. I want to be wild. This is 11 years of doing it.
I'm surrounded by so much positivity. No, it's okay.
Yo, what's up, my people? It's your boy Starboy Terry.
You're watching Plus Event
on Plus TV.
Stay glued to Plus TV Africa every Saturday and Sunday, 4:30 p.m. West African time.
Businesses in Africa can be very challenging. In Nigeria, it is particularly intimidating, and successful builders have learned how to navigate a hostile environment to unlock opportunities. But one major
it is engagement we need to have.
Those who suffer miscarriages are never taken into account.
Members of the National Assembly are also influence peddlers.
You are sitting on Nigerians' money.
From the barbing, I pay my rent. On the barbing, I send my children to school.
A consultative engagement.
No any tangible notification before they ban us.
It's one thing for people to be at your back and the heat of the moment, and another thing for them to still be with you when push comes to shove.
I will do everything to take Lagos out of the national grid.
I always say that being busy doesn't amount to productivity. You can be busy and not productive. So it's not that I'm busy. What are you busy on?
We should really start focusing on more on what we put our attention on, not about I need to achieve this in 2 hours. No. This is what you need to achieve. I need to achieve this, I need to achieve this, I need to achieve it, and not the duration that you need to achieve them.
The advance of science and technology, and especially internet technology, has broken the barrier of connectivity of human resource. Before you have to fly, sometimes you have to fly an expatriate down to your locality to do something, but in this era, you don't even have to do that.
We always refer to countries like Singapore, refer to countries like even the United States, and we always want to become like them, but realize that the foundation is that we have to be conscious of the fact that we are putting in the right people in power. That way we can then demand for good governance.
Nigeria's Niger Delta region, from where the black gold fuels Africa's largest economy, where the lines between wealth and poverty has never been thinner. Conflicts, poverty, insecurity, and environmental challenges daily confront the region. How can the Niger Delta story be changed for the better?
Join Mamude Akuga at 9 p.m. every Friday evening on PlusTvAfrica.
Well, thank you for staying with us. Apologies for the breaks in transmission. We're still talking about the report on the NSAS, of course, protesters who were fired at by soldiers of the Nigerian army at the Lekki toll gate, October 20 of 2020. And still with us is Dele Farotimi. Mr. Farotimi, thank you very much for staying with us. Mr. Farotimi, can you hear me? Can you hear me? Oh, I think we are having problems with, I guess, Mr. Farotimi, can you hear me? I'll try that one more time. Oh, dear. Well, we will take a break, and when we come back, we'll be talking about the issue of restructuring. Of course, the former information minister has warned of the dangers of not restructuring the country, and that if we do not do that, we might risk breaking up the country come 2033. Stay with us. Our guest will be joining us in a minute.
Hello and welcome. It's Nimasa This Week, the voice of Maritime. Nimasa This Week is brought to you by the Nigerian Maritime Administration and Safety Agency. Statutorily mandated to ensure that there's regulation and promotion of matters affecting our waters. Nimasa bears responsibility for search and rescue.
It's basically just to eavesdrop on phone calls and SMSs and other things that would go on private phones of private individuals, which is why we say it's unlawful. Okay. And if at all there was to be any law, that law still has to conform to the rights granted under the Constitution. And of course, the Constitution being the supreme law of the land. If any law conflicts with the Constitution, that is what the law says. Now, the bandits that came and attacked those people in the market in Sokoto, I understood that there are more than 200 bandits. Where were they coming from? Were there no security, on the road or on the way? Where did they come from? And how did they manage to enter into such an environment, with such a large number of persons that came from wherever they come from and then did what they did and then escaped and nothing happened to them? So what manner of policing system are we using in this country in order to create a state of security? What are we really protecting lives and property, which I know is the primary responsibility of government?
I want to ask, are there really manipulations in the PDP? Is there the hand of Esau and the voice of Jacob at play in the People's Democratic Party? Being that there are so many strongmen and of course different interests and many followers. Could that also be the reason why you said that this has never happened before in terms of when a tenure should expire and when the convention should happen? This is the first of it.
Personal interest and group interest.
A faulty attempt by the Nigerian security services and the government in general to cover up the massacre. Initially, there were attempts to deny that people were even shot in the first place. There was an initial denial. Then later it was accepted that yes, people were shot, but no one was killed. But later on we found out that people were actually killed.
The dishonorable Minister of Misinformation, Lai Mohammed, the Honorable Minister of Information, Lai Mohammed, I think his words are suspect. I think we need to pay attention to it. But we, the people, we know something has changed. The media or the information or something has changed. The one thing about change is a process.
And arrive at something that means rather than just put a percentage on what you.
Before the 2023 general election, as some sections of the country might boycott the polls as a result of the growing dissatisfaction in the land. The former aviation minister...
Thank you.
All right, if you can hear me, I'm going to start with Dr. Madoka. We always hear about the issue of restructuring. Dr. Madoka, can you hear me? All right, let's try our other guest. Can you hear me, gentlemen?
I can hear you now.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay.
I can hear you now. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, you want me to speak?
Yes.
Okay. What we're having in this country is we started on a wrong footing. What we're having in this country. If you look at the instrument, so what I'm saying, the instrument of our independence, there was an instrument, there was a document, and that document was signed, and it gave rise to 3 regions before it now metaphor 4 regions. So that was the basis of our existence. Although the war came and messed up the whole thing, but the military has no right to start knifing us like Gowon did and created 12 states just on a fierce issue. And then other military juntas started, creating states. There was no input from the civilians. So what we saw was just impunity by the military. And there's no way you can start like that. Now, coming to the basis of this discussion, APC manifesto was clear. In 2024, their number one manifesto was that they are going to restructure this country. And it was even based on that Nigerians trooped out. When they came in 2019, they say, in this second next level, they're going to make it. No. But unfortunately, we have just 1 year plus. That means that report will not see the light of the day. The problem we have is just as stated by the former minister. If we don't do something right now, it's going to be very hard. For once in my lifetime, Sokoto, that is a caliphate of Muslims, where you can never see anything talked about, anything called violence, is now being almost run over by bandits. That is to tell you there's a problem. And except we are just trying to lie to ourselves. There's a serious foundational problem. Look at it from this way. Our constitution, the first paragraph says we Nigerians, nobody. And that constitution was given to Obasanjo at the day of inauguration. It was not debated. Nobody knew the content of that constitution. And today we are seeing the problem. The problem is that if a minister and if a governor build a road for you, you go and drum and play and dance, because it won't do him anything if he didn't build anything for you. So if the president is coming to commission something for you, which is our money, our commonwealth, Nigerians line up to drum as if something is wrong with us. What are you drumming? This is what they are supposed to do. So I think the problem we have is that constitution has a very fundamental problem. And until we bring it down, we will not be able to move forward. And of course, that constitution is going to consume us soon. Look at it in the creation of states. Look at before, we have four regions. And those 4 regions were equal matched. Today, when you talk about divisions now, we have 3, the West, the East, and the North. The North alone has more than enough to deal with even the South and the West combined together. On what basis? Who negotiated that kind of format? Who negotiated that idea of party and nation of that? So the whole thing is...
The national confab that held, and this is not the first, by the way, we've had constitutional conferences and we've had similar dust. No, I know that you're not a government person, but I'm trying to understand here. Why do you think that we spend so much taxpayers' monies to have these tea parties and these so-called conferences, and then at the end of the day, these papers are gathering...
It is to satisfy the political ego of some people and drum things into their ear. I mean, you have a National Assembly, and the question you're asking yourself is, why do you want... these are layers money, and they are not done. That is the number one. Number two, what exactly are we restructuring? Are we meant to restructure our minds or to restructure, the political interests of some other people? Let me ask you, this restructuring, part of the essence of restructuring is to devolve power to the states and the local governments, right? Okay, let me ask you, how many state governors right now are allowing their local government chairmen to even, to function as a third tier of government?
Oh, that's a whole kettle of fish on its own. That's a whole
list of government, the concurrent list of government, where the state and the federal, they both, have, rights to legislate and all that. You legislate on housing. How many of these state governors have provided housing for their people? That is the question, number one. And they're getting taxpayers' money. They're spending them on what they call security votes and all fictitious things they're spending on. And they will come and tell you restructuring. They are the same people who are sending different groups to go and be championing restructuring when they have not even begun restructuring from their homes. That is number one on housing. Number two is agriculture. Who has stopped them from, using agric to transform the economy of their states? Has anybody actually stopped them from doing that? Number three,
I
mentioned healthcare, then talk about education.
Yeah, but in
Education
terms of agriculture, I'm not holding brief for the government of the states, but if there has been an easy way out of going cap in hand to the federal government at the end of the month.
When you hear people speak about restructuring, they are bamboozling the people who don't, maybe the susceptible minds, the gullible ones, the vulnerable ones, who don't know exactly how to demand good governance from their people. Every governor right now, I don't mind in the state, every governor are just simply looting their people crazy and doing nothing. So they should stop talking about restructuring. Restructuring should begin by every...
Oh, I think we're having issues with your connection. So I'm going to go back to Dr. Madoka. He's made very interesting, points about, issues that need to be addressed and the fact that this is just a lip service of sorts. What do we do to get it to happen? Because election is here, and we're going to hear more of this. It's going to sound like they're going to start sounding like broken records. I was talking about it yesterday. Someone put a thread on Instagram of different politicians captured. One was frying akara, another doing what they promised us. What about our role in making sure that these demands are met? Dr. Madoka.
Well, yeah, you will have your demand to be met if you have and like you said, most of all these are political allies. They are benefiting from the disjointed construction of this country. So it's going to be very hard for them to change the narrative. It's going to be very hard. And like the other man talked about the states, the state has their role. The states, they have their role. But my problem about the states, like Lagos State, cannot generate light without first of all asking the federal government. And light, power is very important if you want to develop. The state governments cannot do certain things without first of all getting approval from the federal government. Let me give you an instance. I did a paper on the wastage of coal in Enugu. Coal is one of the main source of income to South Africa. Why is coal dormant in Enugu? Why do we jettison it because of oil? And of course, when I was asking one of the executives there, they say you can't do anything without first of all getting approval from Abuja. So these are the devotion of power we're talking about. The state should be able to have freedom to do what they want to. That's what is obtainable elsewhere.
But then the states cannot do whatever they want to do because our constitution is somewhat limited. Us to a federal system of government of sorts, even though we're running.
No. I disagree with you. The federal system of government gives room for states to be autonomous, because if you look at the constitution we are using or the federated unit we are using, is the same in America. Every American state is almost like an autonomous.
Yeah, but in reality, we're running a unitary government, so that's the situation of things.
But it's not supposed to be, and that's why I think that man said that we need to expenditure as per a month, right and forward. And of course, election is just around the corner, so this is the time for them to mop up money. For instance, what are you talking about? A security vote. A governor can just decide to take 1 billion naira as a security vote, and nobody talks about it. So this is the issue. And that's why I was changing on that constitution. I'm not a pessimist, but the issue that the constitution, when you have a foundation that is strong, there's nothing else you can do. Build the base of this skyscrapers. It will collapse around what happened in recently, because the foundation is wrong. So, but it's the earlier the better. If we can be able to come back and say, what is it that we need to do? Then let's see how we can at least amend whatever we can.
All right, let me quickly go to Darmola because we're almost out of time. Mr. Darmola, quickly, I want solutions. We've seen how the push and shove from Nigerians, whether it's online, offline, whether we went to protest, whether people were arrested and shoved into Black Marias. We've seen what has come out of it and the reports from the panel that sat in Lagos. Nigerians are still hoping that something will come out of it. But how, aside from that, how do we also use this same tactics or something different to get our leaders to be more accountable to us, if they've ever been accountable to us in any way?
Well, in the first instance, let me tell you what the major challenge is, on the political scene in Nigeria. Our politics is driven by brigandage and thuggery. Go to almost every state in this country. You have an army of, thugs, an army of, call them whatever, violent men who are being sponsored by these politicians, who, even when you rise up to even say a word, you become a target. That's why you can see even Agberos in Lagos here generating over how many billions of naira, because they have the latitude to do so. So it tells you that, and go everywhere. They are everywhere, So what I'm saying invariably is that the nature of politics we play is not allowing for critical participation. People who should drive the process are intelligentsias, are people who have clear mind as to how to move the country forward. But the people we have, are elements who are even far more powerful than those who are in the National Assembly. As we speak today, you yourself, you can recollect how some thugs ran into the National Assembly, hijacked the mace of the Assembly, and today, nothing has been done. We can go on and on about many things that have happened. We have the president in this country who did all sorts, and Shell Ghana must go, and, many of these political thugs in Ibadan and all these places were mobilized to do all sorts. So all I'm saying is, it's not a picture of gloom. Let me just end.
Quickly, because we're out of time. We're out of time.
For me, you have for any restructuring yet. Okay. I have said two things. These 5 critical sectors, go and look at all the roads in Lagos. How many of the roads are fixed in Lagos? How many of the inner roads are fixed in Ibadan? How many of the inner roads are fixed in Ondo? Let them go and fix their roads first.
We have to go.
And bearable for the people who are generating the tax. Let them go and build houses for them. Make the hospitals functional in their states.
All right.
Make the housing affordable in their states. Make local government chairmen a proper third-tier arm of government. Okay. Stop wasting our time on restructuring and fix these ones that are on the concurrent list. Now, you don't need to go to court or anything to do. Stop bamboozling the vulnerable and the susceptible in the society. Give us good governance.
I can tell from the passion in your voice. I can tell from the passion in your voice that you're sick and tired of this banter of restructuring. But Dakwada,
I want to believe that what the result of the panel is actually the truth, because according to what we saw online, people were killed, and they said that their dead bodies were carried away by the soldiers in order to cover up what actually happened. So now, going by the results that this thing actually happened is giving us hope that justice is taking place, and also it makes us to know that that in future that the government is going to be taking steps in such a way that whatever policies that they are bringing out will not be anti-people, because now that people can realize that their hope in Nigerian legal system has not faded away.
Just a hope, a revival of hope for all Nigerians in the outcome of Lagos State NDRC panel that looked into what happened last year. So it was giving Nigerians hope that there is still